I'm quite excited. Guys, I have to be honest with you. I feel like this is the first time ever. I think it is actually the first time ever where we've approached an update on the stream where we're talking about it live. And I'm actually very excited about it. And I don't really feel like there's a load of negatives, if at all any, to talk about. And that is so unusual because often when Sorare announce an update or they release an update, it's been the case so many times where an update is so divisive. You'll get like half of the Sorare community loving it, and you'll get half of the community hating it. And there'll be just as many almost negatives as there are positives. Whereas with this update, I think it's very different. And I think there's a lot more positives than there are like cons to it, actually. So like more pros and cons. So let's go through it, right? So this is the Sorare football product update. It was released yesterday, and you can find the article on Medium. I'll put the link in the chat in case any of you guys have not read it. So let me put that in the chat for you guys there. Okay. You can also find it on Sorare's homepage as well, on Sorare's Twitter page, and you can go into the game. You can click the bell, and then you can also find it in your notifications. So, Sorare Football Product Update, announcing reward boxes, bonus adjustments, and more. Let's run through it. As shared in the, and we can already see our word, iterate, there it is. It makes it into the first paragraph. See, I told you they love it. They love this word. As shared in the Football November product roadmap, a key focus of our product team is to iterate. So that's the first instance of iterate on our competition formats to create more sustainable and fun gameplay. So they did mention back in November, like this article here, they did mention in here that they understand that it's been a bit of a frustration for managers around rewards and around making the game sustainable as a platform, but also as a place where you feel like you've got valuable cards. Your cards hold value, and that you can actually it's worth winning them because you can then sell them for decent money, or they can do something decent for you in the game. So what Sorare is saying here is that this is going to be a completely new rewards experience, something that they've never done before in the game. It's going to be a new type of reward that you can win. So what is that? That is, of course, this here, Sorare reward boxes, which actually look pretty cool. And I have to be honest with you, this looks very similar, this kind of box and this design, to when Sorare released the 3D AR cards, where they were doing promos and videos showing those cards in public spaces, and they were coming out of a box which actually looked like this. So maybe that was a little bit of like a sneak peek early on as to what they had planned. But yeah, Sorare reward boxes, okay? But they're not going to be issued out in here, which I love, because I have basically done so many streams over the last month slamming that tier 4s and tier 5s in limited are still in the game, and they are still offered in every competition in the game, and nobody wants them, and we already have too many of them in the game, and they needed to find a way to get rid of them, to stop issuing out tier 4s and tier 5s, because all it's simply doing is bringing the market further down, 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 and at the moment, it's so difficult to sell cards that if you win a card that's basically bottom, as in it's like low end, it's a fodder card, it's a tier 4, tier 5, especially the tier 5s, good luck. Good luck trying to sell it if it's a card that you don't want. Good luck. Because nobody's buying them, the tier 5s. There's too many of them. There are some good players still, though, down there at the tier 5 range. But with prices being so low of the cards, it's almost like people are not interested in the tier 5s because sometimes their scoring is even not good enough. But why get a tier 5 that's like 50p when for, say, £2 or £3, you can actually get someone with way better scoring, way higher scoring. And actually, that's a card that's significantly more useful in the game that you also have a better chance of selling on in the future than a bottom end tier 5, tier 4. So this is what they're proposing. This is what Sorare are proposing. And they are proposing that they're going to call a competition the Reward Box Special 270. It only runs for 4 consecutive game weeks. So the way that everybody really needs to look at this, right, is that this is going to be, I'm just going to tell you now, this is going to be the way that Sorare move towards rewarding like mainstream in the game. But they're running it for 4 consecutive game weeks, almost like a trial, right? So before they roll it out across most of the competitions, if not all of them in the game, they want to at least see over a couple of game weeks whether it's well received, whether it works the way that they intended it to, or whether there's any kind of issues with it, whether they need to make any tweaks to, like, for example, the percentages that one of you guys mentioned. They can kind of use this 4 game week period to test it out, right? To test the water. And then if it is a success after those 4 game weeks, I'm pretty sure we can then expect it to be rolled out into the wider game. And I think I'm hoping that it's going to be a really successful 4 game weeks. I think it will. And then I'm actually quite eager to see this being rolled out throughout the rest of the game. But you're probably thinking, well, why Free Tip Scout? Because we don't know much about it. Well, let's dive into it, right? The big frustration that's been growing amongst a lot of Sorare managers is that when your card values are going further down and further down to the point where they're becoming as low as they've ever been, but you also keep the supply going where you are increasing the amount of cards that are coming into the game, what you basically have is you then have a lower amount of value to the cards, but more of them. Okay, so the supply is bigger, but the value of that supply is lower. And then what you essentially have is that you've lowered the barrier to entry for people to then pick up better players, right? So what you're going to have is you're going to have a situation where the cards are getting lower in value, but because the barriers to entry are lower, more people can compete in limited with better teams. And so what will happen is that the points that you need to then get a reward of any significant value, right? Because remember, don't forget, the card values are going down. So you don't really want to be winning a tier 5 with the card values being so low because that's only 40p. You need to be winning tier 3s, tier 2s, tier 1s, right? But it's even more difficult to do because of that whole lowering the barriers to entry. So what's kind of created a situation that's happened is that it's even more difficult now to get those tier 3s, to get the tier 2s, tier 1s and above, right? And in many cases, managers are investing in the game, building a team, and then just struggling to win at all. They're struggling to win a tier 5. And we've seen so many situations where you've needed, say, 380, 390 points or so to get a tier 5, a card worth 40p, which, to be honest with you, is a card that you won't even really be able to use, especially if you're an experienced manager. You won't have much use for it and you'll want to sell it, but then you can't sell it because there's just too many of them. So you've won something, but you haven't won something. You actually don't feel like you're better off. And it's almost like it's not worth it. It's almost like, well, why am I playing limited to struggle to win something? And then when I do win something, it doesn't feel that valuable. It doesn't feel like it's worth winning. And the big kind of issue that I've had, the big problem that I've had with Sorare for a while, and I think it's been a little bit lost on a lot of managers as well, right? This is a card game. Okay, I'm going to say it again. This is a card game. This is a card game for the 3rd time, right? And you probably think to yourself, what on earth are you talking about? Why are you emphasizing that? This is a card game. What that means is that this game centers around cards, right? Cards is the main product of this game. Cards are the main focus of this game. If you have a situation that's developed in the game where people, your users, don't see the value of winning cards, in a card game, and if they are winning cards in a card game, and they actually feel like they just would rather not win a card, then you've almost done something wrong, or something has happened in the game where the game has reached a point that it needs fixing. Because what should be the case in the game is that your users should be craving, should be desiring massively to win cards in the game. They should want to get their hands on the cards, and it should feel special when they win a card in their game. It should feel like a real big milestone that on rewards day, they can't wait to open their reward and see what card they've got. I have, and I know that some others as well, a lot of others who are playing the game have been in situations, right? And I even found myself saying this on yesterday's stream, and I had to keep saying, I can't believe I'm saying this because I don't want to be saying it, but the state of the game that it was in before this update was making me say that, is that, for example, for Cap 220, the month long, I was saying yesterday when we were lineup building for it, I was saying, I don't really care. I don't really care if I put a good team in for that, or if I do put a good team in for that. I don't care either way. And the reason I don't care is because the kind of reward that they're offering as a bare minimum is a 40p card, right? A tier 5. And so winning cards should feel like, okay, I want to win that competition and I want to do really good in it. But in order to do good in that competition, to win something worthwhile, you need to win a tier 3 and above. If you put your best team in there and then you win a tier 5, which is a 40p card, this is not something that makes you feel special. And this is not something that makes you feel like you want to win those rewards, right? Because you just don't. And so this is really cool because they're proposing in the reward box that the cards that you win will feel special again, because they are actually removing the tier 4s and the tier 5s, which we're going to get to in a second. So the minimum value card that you can get is a tier 3. But before you freak out, that doesn't mean that there's going to be less rewards to win, because they are looking at rewarding more managers in a different way, okay? And the way that they've proposed, I think, is really cool. This is what makes this system that they proposed really exciting, because you can literally go into the rewards experience now every rewards day and feel like you have a chance of winning big, even if you have finished really low down in the rankings. Even if you finish last, you have a chance of basically almost winning the jackpot. So what they're doing here is they're trying to go back to what probably the whole concept of this game was, is that your cards in the game are your main product. The cards should be the main things that people want to win. I had a question. On one of my Twitter posts yesterday, right? Because the other thing that we haven't talked about, which we're going to keep going through here, because it's actually mentioned here in this paragraph. So let's talk about the paragraph, and then I'll explain. I'll link it to the point I've just been talking about, right? Please note that to support this iteration, we are moving limited Cap 240 card rewards, so limited and the rare rewards from the limited Cap 240, they're moving them to this competition, okay? So if we go back and we look at Cap 240 limited, what you'll notice is that there's no card rewards anymore in Cap 240 limited. The only thing to win in here now is the threshold, right? No card rewards at all, okay? Now, that's quite a big change. That's a massive change. And this is a change, again, which you guys should expect to roll into the game mainstream. So after these 4 game weeks that they do this, this test, right, you should expect that this is going to be a permanent change in the game, where threshold does not have any card rewards at all, and that the only thing you can win in here is money, right? Now, this is going to link to my point I was just talking about. Somebody on Twitter responded to the announcement, and they were flabbergasted and they were outraged that the update was proposing that they take the cards out of Cap 240 and that you can't now win card rewards in Cap 240 limited, right? And I responded to it, And I wanna explain this because I think that this is getting lost here, and it's a really important point. If you have card rewards in Cap 240 Limited, right? Your card rewards, the cards that people win in here, they need to be, for the most part, they need to be, well, not for the most part, they all need to be worth more, in my opinion, than the $5, right? They need to be the most valuable thing that you win in Cap 240 because it's a card game. This is what we're talking about here. It's a card game. Well, you should be winning cards. You should be wanting to win the cards. So the card should have value that makes winning a card worth more than winning the threshold in the limited, right? In the limited. If your card rewards that most people are winning are less than the threshold, then why are the cards in there? Because they're not attractive to win. They're not attractive to win. They're kind of being undermined in Cap 240 because the $5 that you can win is actually the better reward than the card. And that shouldn't be the case in a card game. It shouldn't be that for like a $5 amount is effectively worth more than the cards that you can win. It shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be like that. It should be that the cards that you can win are worth way more and are way more desirable to win than the cash amount. Because of the state of the game and the fact that all the card values have been driven down and cards are so prevalent in the game, they're not so rare. They're so abundant in the game. There's so many of them that actually winning card rewards in Cap 240 is a complete waste because you're better off just focusing on winning the $5 than you are on winning a tier 5 that's worth 40p. It's a bonkers situation, completely bonkers. It's completely bonkers. So taking them out is actually the best thing for the card rewards because then you put them in a competition where they actually have more value, that they're actually the thing to win. The card rewards in Cap 240 are not the things to win. It's the threshold. So they're completely irrelevant. If you win one, it's like, okay, great. It's a bonus. You're like, whatever, it's quite nice. I won a card too. But the main thing you go into Cap 240 is to win the cash, right? So you want your cards to feel, again, because it's a card game, you need to restore the value and the significance of your cards. So you need to take them out of Cap 240 because nobody really takes the card rewards seriously in Cap 240. Nobody's in it for that. Put them in another competition, make them feel like those are cards worth winning. And it's a good idea. I've even said it myself. You guys know from being on the streams, right? You guys know it. In Cap 240 Rare, we go into Cap 240 Rare not to try and win a card reward. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? I've said countless times on the stream, we are not building a team to win a card reward in Cap 240. If we win one, great, it's a bonus. But we are literally, and we've designed a strategy that every week we are putting together a team that can only just get us to 280 points, between 280 and 300. We're not putting a team together to hit 350, 400 points to win those card rewards in 240. Do you know why we're not doing that? Because we will win a card in Cap 240, a tier 4, that is worth less than the $50. So why do we do it? Why are they there? When people don't really want to win that, they want to win the threshold. So it's actually the best move to take them out. So Kickoff and Legends competitions are the only competitions that do not have card bonuses, right? The rest of the other competitions in the game have card bonuses. Sorare have decided to bring all of the competitions up to the same standard. So what they're going to do is that there's going to be card bonuses that are now going to be happening in Kickoff and Legends competitions, so that then everybody knows that there's card bonuses everywhere. That's basically what they're looking to do here. And they want to try and avoid the confusion by, okay, there's no card bonuses here, but there's card bonuses here, and they don't really understand it. So yeah, they're just applying card bonuses across all competitions now. So all card bonuses will apply across all competitions starting game week 435. Now, the one thing I'm going to say about this is that I've actually been quite a vocal supporter of having a bit of variety in the game. And so the way that Sorare are looking at it is that they have most of their competitions that have card bonuses, and then there's just two that do not. And so actually, in their eyes, they feel like it's confusing managers because they just think that it's easier to understand if there are card bonuses that apply in all competitions, right? I'm actually of the opinion that I think that there should be a couple of competitions that do not have card bonuses, and I think that one of them should be Cap 220. Now, the reason why Sorare I don't think are going to do that is because it doesn't actually serve Sorare to offer a competition where there are no card bonuses, because by doing that, you then actually are, if anything, decentivizing buying new cards, right? The reason you buy new cards is so that you can use the new season bonus, right? And that you can get a higher XP, right? And that you can also build a collection bonus. If you then were to offer a competition where there are none of those card bonuses, then technically it does give a bit more utility and value to those lower end cards. But it actually, from a Sorare point of view, it wouldn't help them to make more money. It would actually undermine their efforts to make more money. So for variety, because I don't think that you need to have every competition that offers all bonuses, I think it would be quite cool to have some raw competitions that don't offer any bonuses at all. And then those competitions then become very skill-based competitions, because then you're not relying on your collection bonus and the scarcity bonus and your big XP to really boost your scoring. You're simply then relying on just really good scouting skills. I think that I would like to see in the future a game, at least one game mode, because I can't believe that they're almost moving to a situation here where not one competition in the game gives you like a raw mode. I think for variety's sake, I'd like to see that in the future, but I also get why they're not doing it, because they want to make it less confusing, but also they want to make sure that they can just make more money. Because if every competition now has the card bonuses, then there's more incentive to go and buy new cards from Sorare, right? So it's a difficult one. I feel like it's almost a battle that I'm not going to win, trying to promote that we get a bit of variety and that there are some competitions that don't give you card bonuses. This is a really interesting point, right? And I feel like this is something that, especially if you're a beginner, you might not I'm not saying Wolfie's a beginner, but if you are a new manager to Sorare, you might not understand the implications, the positive and negative implications of removing cards from a competition, what it does to the market, what it does to card values, and what it does to the general like growth of the game. Is that one of the big issues that I've had, and that this whole idea of a reward box is trying to fix, right? Is it's basically trying to phase out the low end cards, right? Because the low end cards, I would agree, the low end cards are useful. They are useful for starter and beginner managers, right? Or small galleries to a point, okay? So if you reward them, you effectively, in my opinion, you need to be rewarding them in those competitions that are targeting beginner managers to the game or smaller galleries to the game, right? Because they can get more use out of those cards. So the tier 4s and the tier 5s should not be in all-star limited, for example. Because if you're a starter or a smaller gallery, you really shouldn't be competing in all-star. It's almost like the pinnacle competition to get to, like the last one to get to in Sorare, right? It's a competition where the big whales swim in it. You need to have big hitting players to play in it. It's not for small pockets. It's not for small galleries. It's for largely big pockets. And if you're willing to put more money into the game, right? Having tier 4s and tier 5s and just loads of card rewards in there, tier 3s, tier 2s, tier 1s, right? You don't need to give those card rewards out. You don't need to in this competition. And it doesn't hurt a small gallery by taking them out, because what it means is that you're offering a reward that is so significantly good and better in many cases than the card that a small gallery would have won. So you can win $5 or you can win 40p, right? Or you can win both. But the 40p is not going to make a big difference to a small gallery. The $5 will, and then they can then use that to go and buy those players. And by not putting more cards into supply, you're helping card values to increase and you're helping them to not decline all the time. Because this is the systemic problem. And it really is important for everyone to really get their head around. The problem in Sorare is not exclusively around rewards, right? The rewards and the supply are intrinsically linked because a big part of the oversupply comes from the rewards. So if you can try and find a way to cut down card rewards that you don't need to give out, but you still give a reward that makes it just as good, if not better, to get a card reward anyway, then you are helping to relieve pressure in the market and you're helping the game to get to a better point. You're helping everyone's gallery valuations to not be crashing all the time, and you're restoring values again to cards, which then means that that 40p card that would remain at 40p if the game continued to dish out tier 4s, tier 5s, and card rewards in a competition that they don't need to, it will remain at 40p. Whereas if you don't put them in there and you put them in another competition like Reward Box and you restrict the amount of cards that everyone can win, then eventually that tier 5 is, if they keep it in the game, eventually that tier 5 will increase a little bit. Potentially it goes to 80p. So it really helps small galleries in general rather than hurting them. And I say that because I'm not even a big gallery. You guys know I'm a budget manager. I swim in the tier 5s and the tier 4s. I scout them like crazy. I tend to win them a lot. And I get it that as a small gallery, it's about trying to expand your options. But if that is the case, then those types of cards should only be won for the starter competitions. You don't need to give them out in Cap 240, where everyone is just competing in it for threshold. Let's be honest, right? No one's going in it for card rewards. Not. If you get a card reward, it's like great, we got that too, but everyone's going in it for the threshold. So you don't need to give card rewards, and it doesn't really hurt the game by not offering them. It makes the game better by not offering them. So, did you enjoy today, guys? Have you enjoyed it? I hope you did. And I hope you found it useful to talk about the new update as well, because it's always quite nice when we can do a bit of a deep dive and just like bounce ideas and opinions off each other around the new update. What's the one thing? Okay, we're going to end with a giveaway. We're going to end with a giveaway. So let's see who's paying attention here. What's the one big message that you have? Okay, let me rephrase that. I'm going to give a limited card away live on the stream to whoever gets this correctly. If there's one thing you could take away from the update, since we've been talking about it today, what is the one thing that you would take away from this stream and us covering the update? There is an answer. I'm going to wait to see whether somebody puts it in there. It didn't take long. We have a winner immediately. Jordan gets it correct. The answer was iteration. If there was one thing to take away from that update that's super memorable, it was iteration. Congratulations to Jordan. Jordan, let's give you a card right now. Let's end the stream with a giveaway. Iteration is the main takeaway from the update. If you didn't know that, go into the article on the about the rewards update and count how many times you see iteration. It will make you laugh. It's a fun favorite word of Sorare. So let's go and give the card to Jordan. Thank you so much, guys, for your time. And I'll catch you all tomorrow on the next one. Thank you so much, guys.